What's the big idea?
And we are here again.
You're back.
Episode 44.
Ooh,
I know, coming up on a year.
that's wild.
It is. It's kind of flown by.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has for our listeners too, and viewers. Just a reminder, folks, that if you are listening to this, if you want to do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, we are talking with some big names in the game, and we're hoping to add more and more guests that you want to see and hear from. So we last episode we had Hugh McCutcheon on, which was a great honor for us. He doesn't do a ton of interviews long form, so that was great, and he's probably going to come back again, and we're going to hope to get other guests. So if you hit subscribe, it'll help us attract more guests, and of course help us with the mission to have better voices than just ours to carry on the to improve the game for kids and adults.
It is nice having like that third person for sure, because you and I can get into some ranty rants. So.
Yeah, and it's just nice to we learn from guests, and then and then it's not just our voices, and we show that we're not just two crazy guys in some far away hidden studio.
That was a lot of fun last episode.
It was great. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Episode number 43, was it? Yeah, 43, I guess.
It comes before 44.
Yep. I just forgot where we were. Hugh McCutcheon talking about his book, Championship Behaviors, which is an awesome blueprint for success, really, for all sorts of, every aspect that we talk about, the parents, players, and coaches, and even in other walks of life. So
yeah.
And today, speaking of championship, Eric, you had a day one of your beach tournament today.
Yeah, playing a 2-day Grand Slam. It's a lot of it's nice because we played 3 full matches today instead of like on those 1-day tournaments. It's like 2 sets to 15, no third. It's like
yes, because
really
if there's
weird.
more teams in a pool, they shorten your matches.
Yeah. So and today was still a full day, right? It went all the way to 4 p.m. But yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Did you guys get rained on out there? Cause it
poured. We did a little bit.
Did you not? You didn't get the sheets of rain that we had?
No.
Oh wow, it was like a downpour.
I heard it was
crazy.
bad, yeah.
Couldn't see the road.
So we got there and like it was hard packed on the courts farther out, which is I'm okay with that. But some of the nets were so low, we had to raised our net before the game. Thank goodness. And then like the last game, it had warmed up and it's closer to the boardwalk and it was nice and deep, and I wasn't happy.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy with that sand.
Deep sand sucks.
Yeah.
If anybody out there hasn't played beach, when the sand is a little shallow or firm packed, it's much easier to move and take off and push off. And if the sand is deep, it's like heavy. It's like exhausting. Every jump, you feel like you're not getting off the ground at all.
Yeah.
It feels awful.
Changes your timing. It's like
and it frustrates you, exhausts you. So, but and you guys did all right today. Eh?
Yeah, last match was a really good team, and we nailed the serve and pass, and that, because going back to our last tournament, we lost a match against a pretty good team where our serve and pass like broke down. And then
like you're serving and you're passing.
Our serving and our passing, yeah. And then you can't get in a rhythm, and then you just that kind of loss hurts because it's never fun, and like you feel like you're never actually in the game with your opponents. So here our serve and pass was really good, and then we were able to stay with them like the side out game, and then you get into these really great crazy points that happen, and then you do some clutch, and then you win the point, and it just feels so much better, right?
Yeah. And even if you lose, like if you're serving,
even
and
if you lose that point
and you lose, it still feels good because you're at least doing all you can. It's like let the opponents are going to do what they're going to do. But was there anything you guys worked on this week that you saw pay off, like in your training? Because you trained a few days this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we had probably 3 times the amount of blocks this weekend than we did. Honestly, we had like 2 blocks last weekend.
Interesting.
So we're going much more aggressively on the ball. I think we've been way too generous on giving taking our blocking assignment and giving them what we're not blocking. Right. And so we both said today, like, let's go after the ball a lot more.
Yep.
Right. And then if we get burned on our blocking assignment, okay, then we dial it, then we change it. Right. So that was one big thing. And then I think we did some serve and pass throughout the week, and I think that helped a lot.
Nice.
especially when I got to that heavy sand, because I don't think we shanked a single ball that game, which is pretty crazy.
Which saves the energy too, right? It makes it so much less frustrating. If you shank in that heavy sand, it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's the worst. Like chasing a ball is like, oh,
yeah.
I hate that. Just feel it. Think of. No, that's good. And like, so you're blocking now. Did you guys like? There is a strategy on beach where like, some teams will just say, I'm going for the ball and you're reading. Like, is that what you guys did? As a backcourt defender, just read and react, right?
We haven't quite, we talked about that. We haven't fully done that. So we're still calling blocking assignment, and then we're still, and I think there's a team that we could potentially end up playing tomorrow where we're thinking of doing that, because the one attacker, he just gets up so well and he sees everything, and he never really hits the ball.
Yes.
He just cuts. And I think, and that's what I was saying with Pete. I'm like, let's just go after the ball on the block.
Agreed.
And then, let the defender do whatever.
Because there's freedom in that, right? Like, if you do play great hitters, there's some real freedom in one. Like, if that blocker is going all in on that hitter, and then wherever that ball is, then that makes the attacker a little, think about one extra thing. And then if your defender is also reading it, you know what I mean? It's almost like if they're that great, then sometimes you need all the pressure and, maybe and then some faking in the backcourt, right? Get the partner to make the call,
that's
the wrong call, too. Goad them in.
It's harder for them to get that shot because he's like, at one point me and the blocker may go in the same area, right? Because we're both reading it.
Yep.
So like them calling their shots is going to be confusing.
And even so, is it most often you in the backcourt?
No, we're still split blocking.
Still split blocking. So, I mean, don't forget about the idea of like, if you have a great team that really is great at looking, faking the step, and like, so make it look like you might be going a certain way, and then, and you could even,
we're gonna have to do that.
It gets really great. That's the better the player, the better you're gonna have to. People don't understand when they play or watch beach how much of a chess game is going on, like on TV. If you're watching, like there's battles and there's weird tricks going on that get. First thing, I'm going to fake them out. Now I'm going to fake that I'm faking them out. And it's this weird thing where like, oh, okay, now I know they're faking me out. So I'm going to go to where the defender is right now, because I know that they're just trying to. And then sometimes they look stupid because they hit it right to you. And everybody's like, why would they go there? And you're like, because it's a whole thing you don't see. It's like when a soccer player tries to bend it really crazy into the net and they kick it 40 rows up, and the fans are like, wow, he sucks. And they're like, no, he's trying to do something that you don't even know.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts when people do that.
Yeah, true.
Superficial view of it, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I guess superficial. It's not really a segue, but you feel good going into day 2, though, right? Just I think that's good. And the cool thing is, like, I think you guys have that mindset of like, you don't even, the results are obviously nice, but as long as you see progress in what you're doing and you're seeing the extra time paying off, it sort of, the results will be there if you keep plugging away. It's kind of like doing a podcast, right? Like, you just keep going, and then hopefully people start listening. Right.
You're right.
Let me know in the comments if you're listening. No, today is a topic that we've been wanting to discuss for quite some time. My experience in the game as a player and a coach, and now as a parent. And I think I hear this a lot from other parents and other coaches too. It comes up in Hugh McCutcheon's book, Championship Behaviors too. It's the idea that, or the question is like, is volleyball sexist? And I think that if it'd be fascinating for a parent who has a boy and a girl playing the sport, I bet you they would have a lot to say in this too.
Yeah.
For the most part, Eric, any early preliminary thoughts on the idea? Is volleyball sexist, or the volleyball world in general, maybe the coaching world, is it sexist?
Well, I was going to talk about just like beach volleyball.
Okay, sure. Go for it.
Yeah. Because like, I don't know, like, I mean, beach volleyball is a sexy sport. And like, most of our tournaments, like, guys can take their shirts off or whatever. Like at national events, you have to have your jersey on and stuff like that. But like all the female teams are wearing bikinis. Like that's the. Yep. So before I say whether it's sexist or not, like there is like, female athletes are in bikinis, guys are in just their beach shorts or whatever. So there's definitely that. I feel like even like at the tournament I was at today, like it's not a main tournament, so like guys can like, they don't need to wear a shirt, so maybe it balances out in that regard. I don't know, right? But like there's always that element of like, I mean, there's attractive women in the women's division, right? And that's just the way it is, and I'm sure that they feel I would think, the same.
Yeah. Do you know what sexism means, Eric?
Yeah. So I'm not talking about.
You're not. I didn't say sexy. It's
Yeah,
volleyball.
but sorry, my point was like,
yes.
my point was like when we get to the FIVB, right?
Yes.
Males are wearing their jerseys and a lot
longer
of
shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And all the female athletes as of right now, but I think it changed this year.
Yes.
But prior to that, it's always just been bikini is the official uniform for the female athletes, right? So that's where I think a difference is. It's like, well, clearly.
Yeah, the FIVB, like there was a big fight. I remember back when this was happening. The women were mandated to wear bikini bottoms. Mandated.
Right. So.
And the men were able to wear these looser tank tops, comfortable shorts. And so in the early days, the women's female players were pretty upset because they're like, we're being objectified. Sometimes I don't want to wear something that rides up. It's not comfortable. Get sand in you, right? But the FIVB being that, the FIVB back then, similar to FIFA and a lot of like, I don't want to say corruption, but there's a lot of that, old boys club. And they wanted it for the ratings. They wanted a bunch of idiots at home watching for the wrong reasons. They didn't care, right?
Still, no one watches the FIVB.
Yeah, and still,
well, I don't know. Not many people in North America.
Yeah, North America sadly it's not watched.
The numbers must be.
And the AVP, I think they allow a lot more leniency. The AVP allow the women to wear what they want, and I think that's what players. I mean, players should be able to wear whatever they want. I understand the sponsorship stuff. But if you, outside of that, like if you can get your sponsorship logos for your league onto some clothing, you want the players to be comfortable, right? Because that's when they play the best. I think
that's the only important thing. Like if the bikini is the best thing, then the
player wants to wear the bikini, wears the bikini. Yeah. The player who doesn't shouldn't have to. And you're right. This year on the FIVB, we saw players wearing different
shorts,
stuff.
Right?
Shorts, and women were wearing tank tops, which was kind of cool to see. And early events this season. But as long as the player gets to wear what they want. So there's definitely the clothing. If we take it indoors, right, then the same thing. Like.
Right.
It's a tricky thing because female players, a lot of them want to wear the spandex shorts, and then you get parents and coaches saying those are too short, and then you're like, some people are like, well, you shouldn't be saying anything about how shorts look. And again, I still think that if player comfort, I mean, if you have a team of indoor girls with the same jerseys, or a team of indoor guys with the same jerseys, I think the shorts should be, allow them to wear what shorts they want. Personally, as long as the color matches or whatever. Even in does that even matter in volleyball? Like the whole idea that the shorts have to match. I'll be honest with you. Like you're on one side of the net. It's not like basketball where you're running. But anyway,
it just for sure maybe it just looks but it's easy enough to keep the shorts the same, especially if it's like black, right? Like super easy,
navy blue, black, red, whatever.
I completely agree. They should be able to wear whatever shorts like.
Because even my daughters, when they were playing, like sometimes they were like they didn't like the shorts, they liked the short, but they're mandated to wear this thing, and 9 times out of 10 it's something that's skimpy. Yeah, and you're like, what are you doing here?
Well, now it just keeps itself going because now all the females athletes wear it. So then the new girls that come into the sport, they just like feel like they have to, right?
Yes, so exactly. It's a cycle that you don't know. You're actually wondering, like, do you want to wear this outfit because that's what everybody else is wearing, or do you want to wear it out of real comfort, or you won't fit in? There's a lot of that with girls too, right? Like, if you're a girl with a different body type and you're being asked to squeeze into something that is clearly picked by some director.
Well, and even their tops are like very fitting.
Yeah,
guys, we can wear baggy stuff, right? Yep. I've seen some guys teams tighten up. Actually, like what is it, like the Polish national team? They wear some short shorts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, back in the 80s, we were
men's volleyball shorts were short. When I was playing in the early 90s,
they were super short.
My university shorts, you just seen them. It's like R-rated. No, just kidding. They're like short little.
A lot of people
shorts.
Come and watch.
Well, just I used to sign a few autographs. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people go. No, nobody was watching. It was just the style back then because it was we were less superficial as a culture, right? Like slowly over the last 50 years, society got a lot more superficial. That's why people dressed so differently in the 70s and 80s because there was no, you weren't on Instagram every day. Right?
The suits of the 90s were.
It's funny.
Of the 90s.
You even think of like things like the weight rooms. You think about Arnold Schwarzenegger and those pumping iron documentaries from the 1970s and what that gym looked like versus what a gym looks like today. It's like just superficial changes that just are.
And well, in gyms like those, like in Arnie's gym, there would have just been a bunch of huge dudes with their shirts off, which is totally fine. And I'm sure that there still must be gyms like that.
Yeah, I think
right?
it fizzled out a little bit because of the intimidation factor. Right?
Well, right, but then that gym just must be catering to a small group of strictly bodybuilders.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I'm sure there's female bodybuilders there as well, but
with their shirts on.
With their shirts on. Yes.
Sexism? I don't know. That's an interesting. Well, it's interesting, right? It's interesting.
Well,
because like, society has a problem with the female, the female form for some reason is considered to be, it's sexualized. So the male breasts are okay to show.
Well, no. I think like when it comes for females, like sports and stuff, if you're running around and they're
for comfort, yes,
yeah,
for sure.
But also that would hurt if they're not.
If you're someone who's got larger breasts, but if you don't, then in theory you should be able to. But that, so we're in an era. Remember, don't forget, tennis. Remember, this came up in tennis. I don't know if you heard about this, but in tennis, Roger Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, very common changeover. Going into that new set, change the shirt right there, right, sitting down, shirtless, topless. Women are getting penalized and punished, like losing points for changing even with a sport bra, like a very tank top.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
No.
So female tennis players are getting they're in a bit of a fight because they're like, how come I can't change my top the way they do?
That's totally.
Even if I'm wearing like a very like it's like a sport tank. It's a sports bra, but it's a sport tank. They lost points. They were like punished for it or something in the match because I know it's totally and
that's an old boy sport. Tennis.
It's not, but it's not even just an old boy sport. It's I don't know if you remember this, another early one that people might remember, 94 World Cup, or I don't know, maybe it's 2000 or something. You know, the U.S. Olympic soccer player scored a penalty kick to win the tournament, took her shirt off, right? And everyone was like, how inappropriate that was. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's wearing a sports bra. It's very weird.
Well, who said it? Was
the media? The media.
Were people actually saying?
Yeah, that's the thing too. The media can make that, but of course there would be, right? Because
some people like.
Well, I mean, but like, so we're gonna get into this.
You and I wouldn't.
We wouldn't, but people who are sexist would. Right? Because they think that women shouldn't be a certain way, right? Yeah. I find this and a lot of people think it's just men, but some of the biggest, so if we're getting away from like just the physical clothing side of it, like in the treatment of females who are playing sports, we've had problems with female coaches just as much as male coaches, right? Like in our life, it always tends to be.
I can think of.
It's the same issue too that comes up. What it is basically is, I think a lot of these coaches, they believe that girls can't do things the way boys can, and it leads to all sorts of problems in the sport, like coaching philosophy, limitations, even anger when someone can do it. Like there's like a little bit of bitterness towards someone who can do it, like I've told this story before, the spin surfing with my daughter, right?
Yeah.
She was a beach player. She watched me playing. All I did was spin surf. So when she grew up, she wanted to spin surf. So she had good technique at a very young age. And we just found coach after coach, despite the success of her spin surf and acing and even after points, female coaches, male coaches telling her not to do it. And I'm like, what did they think? So, they have this argument, and she could get her standing serve over. It wasn't a matter of she couldn't do that. If anything, it would go out the back too much because she needed to get on top of the ball because she was pretty strong. Yeah. And we just found this weird thing where coaches were limiting that. And then on the other side, when I would help out with teams, like female teams come in, and so many coaches just downgrading the way they coached females. They would say, well, they just can't get there. They're just not strong enough, Zuby. And I was like, so you don't want them to jump float or jump serve because you think they're weaker? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what you would want the weight coming behind the ball.
This is the main thing.
This is what I was getting. Like with the topic when we were thinking about it, this is the main thing. Is how we coach females is so different than how we coach males. And that leads to, I see coaches sometimes, it's very weird if a coach crosses over from coaching males into females. Like when I started coaching, I went right into male. Like I played obviously men's volleyball, and then I went right into coaching guys. And so there was no difference. I was like, okay, yeah, we got the technique, we got the positioning. And then when my daughters were born and I started getting into helping with, female teams, I saw that there was this whole different world of coaching where like the players don't stand on the tees, they stand inside. And I'm assuming the assumption is that women aren't fast enough to get to tips. And then they they play a little shallower in 6 because I'm assuming the coach believes they're too slow. And then they're not,
of course, so
there's no spin serving.
You notice it so well because had you have gone into coaching, you played men's, you coached men's, and had you gone into coaching girls or women's, you would have just kept doing what you were doing. You would have taught the system the exact same.
That's right.
So you see this stark contrast because it's just not what you've seen in your last 20 years of playing volleyball or whatever, right?
And you know what else I saw is that every young girls team that I went in to do a session with or coaching a little, couple of filling in for a week or doing a clinic with, they all loved the fact that I taught them just coach them volleyball. And I didn't say anything about weird positioning. And I know every other coach that has done it like I have, gone from men's to coaching women's or whatever, and just kept coaching the same. They love those coaches too because they don't treat them differently. Like I've been into gyms as recently as this year, a couple months ago, where the coach said things like, we're not going to run a lot of girls don't run the quick very much. This is like 18-year-old club volleyball. I
was just going to ask you that. I'm like, do they actually say it to their face?
They say it to the players.
These things.
And they say things like, you can't do that.
So they're planting, like kids, young girls, sponges, boys or girl, whatever, they're sponges, and you're going to keep, like, they're attacking their self-esteem. They're not allowing their self-esteem to fully develop or to establish itself. And
it's very deep as to why, right? Like, so one of the things I've always looked at is I'm like, why are these, and I especially, so in one case we had a female coach who I think was very insecure about her knowledge of the game. And I think this happens with a lot of female coaches where if they don't feel confident as their players or I'm just going to talk about the females in general. It happens with male coaches too, but I just want to focus in on the females we found that were sexist against females.
Right.
Because they too grew up in this world where men are dominant and men are more athletic. And if they see a female player that is very athletic, they try to discourage
because
and diminish.
They never got to.
Right. And also there's a little bit of like, are you trying to show me up here?
Yeah.
I'm going to put some power on you. You think you know everything. And I know, because this came up on Facebook. Of course that
would happen.
Of course, right? And this is where we get into trouble for saying that it's very helpful if you played high level to be a good coach. And this is what people don't understand because if they haven't played high level, like when I coached you guys, for example, like when you were a kid, I know you don't remember it too much, but when I coached you guys,
14, 15.
Yeah. When I coached you guys and when I coached like upper level regional team kids, I was not threatened by them because we scrimmaged with each other or I'd come out if I needed to and I could serve you guys. This is before today I would have the players do more than but back then I wanted to play still stupid,
well, you were playing a lot at that time.
Yeah,
so you wanted to.
Yeah, I just wasn't threatened.
Why not?
And I was excited by players who were doing like aggressive hard hits and getting fired up. Yeah. But if I didn't play, then I would be threatened by the athleticism. And you know what I probably would have done if I wasn't a high level player? I probably would have went and coached weaker players or what I perceive to be weaker players. Because then there you have authority. And I'm telling you, in my lifetime, I know guys who are not good players or very mediocre players. Not even, they didn't play post-secondary. They didn't play anywhere. They just played like rec leagues, maybe tier 1 or tier 2 of a rec league.
Yeah.
And they go into coaching and they always pick the female side of coaching. Always. I just had a discussion today with a former player, talking about how this coach came in and they thought he was great and they loved him and I'm like, really, because I know that player doesn't know anything about fundamental volleyball. But if you want authority and you're a so-so player, you're not going to go coach these athletic great male players. You're going to go to the younger level girls who because they might be great players, but it's still easier to control them because of the male versus female power dynamic that our society has, sadly, right? Kids grow up in that. So it's a very fascinating topic, and it's layered.
Well, but there's also just the real dynamic of male and female. Like, that's a real thing, right? So
it is.
And then the societal thing on top of that, right? So leveraging both of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I mean there is definitely male female differences that are legit, but what I mean is like the subservience of male to female, even if the female is more skilled. You know what I mean? So let's suppose you have 16, 17-year-old females who are awesome players, just thumping the ball. Really, a coach can come in there pretending to be something and maybe pull it off. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. And so, and let's say you same group with their boys, 16, 17, and boys, like, I remember at that age, I just loved to just smash the ball.
Yes.
And like big blocks. And so if you're going to take that away from me, like through whatever your coaching reasons, I absolutely would not have stood for it.
That's what I mean.
And because I know that I can win the game by smashing the ball hard, right? Or whatever, or like within control. But like, and so then the athlete would ask the coach why, and then the coach would have to say why. And then obviously I don't know any good reason. Like, if your hitters keep hitting out, like some boys are so, they want to hit so much that they are too excited and then they blast it out. Like, obviously you need to coach that player to control their swing. Mm-hmm. But other than that, there's no reason to not bounce on a ball. Yeah. So then,
and offer that player technical advice on how to not do these things. That's the big thing. So the coaches that don't know, just, switch, go somewhere where they can control things, or because they don't know the technicals. And you've lived through this. I've had coaches like this who don't know quite what to say or how to coach. So they just punish. They just punish. That's the easy thing, right? They just punish.
And our sorry to cut you off, but are boys more defiant as individuals or even in a group, whereas females are more like less defiant as individuals and as a group? Like they don't. Yeah,
generally speaking and psychologically speaking, I think that women are more agreeable than men. Because it's hard to tell if it's genetic. It's hard to tell if it's societal. I think there's a little bit of nurturing involved in the female, generally speaking. I mean, not all females, right? There's always less agreeable female.
But especially in a team sport, right? Or maybe it'd be worse in an individual sport. But then,
well, I know this year, like my daughter's team almost had like a mutiny because the coach was kept on limiting, saying sexist things all the time. Yeah, he had a female assistant coach who was very vocal and very, saying the right thing, and he got rid of her. He got rid of her, and then a few players were quitting the team. He was telling them they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this. Girls don't do this.
And this guy knows volleyball.
This guy knows volleyball, but he got confused and trapped up in a lot. I mean, he knows volleyball, but he's not like. I mean, I don't know where he. I don't know where he because his advice was.
He played.
Yeah, I don't think he played. I think he played somewhere.
Right,
but not anywhere.
But he's and he's also like 60 now or something.
He's older and he's just. But it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't even matter about his age because if he played, he played. But he didn't play anywhere. And what the question is, why did he spend the bulk of his coaching years on the female side of volleyball as a male? And I think that most males, if they don't have a daughter in there, if they don't have, and we're not saying all by any means, of course, please don't assume that we're covering everybody with the paintbrush. But if you don't have a player on that team, if it's not your daughter, if it's not a relative or someone else, there's a reason why, and you might not even know why, but you're going into female volleyball because you think you can assert authority there more easily. Okay, and we're not even going to get into the creepy side of things because that is a whole other topic, and we know that that's there. And I know people who have gone in, and I'm very skeptical of their motives for going in. And that's not projecting. That's just me knowing who this person is before they went into coaching or during early years coaching, and they're still there. Because I had that discussion with a mom once. We were sitting there watching my daughter's team play, and she was like, "So why are these guys coaching this team?
That's
like older guys, right?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, my guess is authority. Like it's instant power and respect because you're not going to get it on the guy's side.
That for sure is the first thing.
Yeah, because by the time those guys are 16 years old, they're thumping the ball, serving harder than you, passing better than you, more athletic than you. And you feel like you can still assert yourself with females who, like we said, are more agreeable, more polite in many aspects. I mean, in theory, again, these are generalizations. Like my daughter is not one of these girls. That's why she could not handle these, what she would call weak coaches who don't know what they're talking about.
Which is good for her.
It's good for her, but and it goes back to, Hugh McCutcheon's thing. He was told, like I was told, by the way, when I started coaching, coaches told me, female coaches told me that coaching girls, of course, there's a difference between coaching girls and boys, generally speaking. One of the things they said to me was that girls take things more personally, so you have to be careful how you word things. Like if I'm yelling at a player.
I think he said he gave a rundown on feedback before the season started or something. He was like, hey, like when I give, is this what he, I was trying to remember.
I think you're right, yeah.
He's like, there's a difference between the response of providing feedback to a male versus a female. They just take it a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So he was just very upfront about it. Like,
I'm not criticizing you as a person. I'm criticizing the player, critiquing feedback for change, right?
Yeah.
Constructive feedback versus just,
And I forget how guys differed.
Well, so what I was told was very similar. So guys could take the criticism more personally was the notion, and girls, female players, you have to be not careful how you say it, but if you say it in such a way, they might think that you're criticizing them as a person rather than them as what they did. So you have to be clear about criticizing. But again, these are stereotypes.
Yeah.
I think it's changed, in the last 20 years. I think a lot of females would say, shut up, what the hell are you talking about? Just talk to me what I did wrong, because I know a lot of female athletes like that today.
A lot of them like that.
But it was probably when Hugh started and when I started, I think I don't know his age compared to mine, but I think that we probably started around the same time.
Yeah.
And that was the talk back then. And these were female coaches telling me this, not just male. But the other thing that he found that was the big thing was he was told, don't coach.
Yeah.
When Hugh McCutcheon, the U.S. men's national team coach, he won the gold medal in Beijing in 2008, he switched over, which is very rare, to coach the women's national team by 2012 in London, where they ended up winning the silver.
He did it because of the challenge, because of what he's like, hey, I did it with the men. Like, this is a new challenge to me, and that's why he went for it.
And the women's team, remember, had never won a gold medal. So he really saw an opportunity here.
Yeah.
And he saw something like, USA Volleyball agreed to it, but then he went into that world, and everybody, the feedback he got from coworkers and other staff was disappointing, because it was basically telling him, women,
like the men's.
Women can't do the same thing. They don't expect them to do this. Don't expect them to do that. Yeah. And he's like, well, the net height is lowered for women already. So in theory, they should be able to run everything that men do. Like, 'cause if you're going to account for like the differences in how high women jump, how tall women are. So there's women who are going to crank it on a 7'4" net versus the 7'11" net. It's already, the difference is already made up.
Yeah.
So why are we coaching it differently? And that's what I was talking about. Why would you ever coach it differently?
And it wouldn't have been possible for him, because I already know that he approached the men's team as a group of professional athletes, and he coached 2 professional athletes, and then he just goes and does that from the men's team to the women's team. It's professional athlete to professional athlete. He's not even looking at genders, right? Like, he is on the lower levels, but at the whole outlook of it, he's just like, I got a gold with this team. I want to do it with this team. This is a challenge to me. Right. And so that's, again, just like you noticing those the hard contrasts from coaching boys to then seeing your girls go through club and being like, why are they not standing on the tees? Yeah. This is why it stood out to him.
Or just playing aggressively.
Aggressively.
Being told to tip it and roll. Remember that? Being told to tip it and roll it, or don't just get your serve over. I mean, come on. You would never say that to a boy at 16, 17. You wouldn't say to a boy, just get your serve over.
Yeah.
And if you did, they'd laugh you off the court.
Yeah.
Whereas in girls volleyball, it's so accepted.
They would look at you and smash it to the back wall. And Hey, well, it's true. Like, because even coaching coaching kids now, some probably a generalization again, but there's much more timid female players, right? When I'm getting into, it's not just the spike. Like, volleyball is an aggressive game in short, controlled bursts, right? So to get an athlete to move fast, get there, plant, and then whatever, make their action, right? It's not that easy, because a lot of them are so concerned about how they look. But I think this definitely affects the girls more. Not if they're too, if they're really young, they don't care as much. But it's once they get to
society's gotten their hands on them.
Yeah, once they get to 14, 15, and more makeup and stuff, I got
self-conscious. And don't forget too, there's also that girl, a 14-year-old girl, has lived in a world where she's been held back all the time. Like, people are always like, no, don't do this. This is girls don't do that. Or don't do that. Or like, it's not even girls don't do that. There's just a different level of like restriction on these young girls. Whereas like,
well, it's just like the spandex shorts, right? It's like, because it's widespread everywhere, it doesn't even have to be pointed out specifically.
Yeah.
It's just ubiquitous. So and like, these girls see it. They're in the world, like, especially as a teenager, you're hyper aware of like how you're being perceived, right? And you're trying to fit in so hard that you are constantly working on how to fit in. That it's habit, right?
I know.
Point, it's behavioral
and it's reinforcing, right? Like the idea, like, even like, I mean, I hate to say this, but even the idea of like spandex versus like, we never thought of putting boys in spandex.
Yeah.
like there's a display thing here we're getting into a dangerous area, but we're being very honest here that there's an implied display thing.
What, Tour de France?
Yeah. It's a tricky topic to talk about, but it's like, I'm sorry, like, 'cause I have 2 daughters, so I've always been concerned with this, like, the objectification of women that is so connected to how they're treated as athletes.
You countered it and by like, you educated them about it. Like, so as they were even getting into it, they already knew about it because you had already told them about it. And then and then as they're living those club days, like they still wore spandex, but because you and your wife like talked about it, so they understood like kind of what was going on, right?
Yeah,
that's what allowed them to.
We had early discussions on like Barbie, and like I told them, like, listen, I'm just gonna tell you about Barbie. When they were little kids, I was like, a lot of psychologists make this stuff, okay, and it's okay.
That's awesome.
And I remember my daughter was
what about Ken?
Well, no, my daughter was like,
he's so strong.
Well, Ken is proportionately okay. Barbie is a freak. Like, old Barbie is made in a very freakish way, right? And it's
Barbie,
it's intentionally designed to make little kids not like their how they look.
Yeah.
And because that makes a lot of money if they don't like the way they look. Kids grow up paying for all sorts of great clothing, great hairstyles, great makeup, So I remember, like, my daughter said to me, we were talking about, well, maybe we'll get used Barbies. That way we're not contributing. That was the kids' solution. Like, that way we're not contributing financially to this horrific oppression of women through a toy. And I know maybe some listeners are going to hear this. And then my daughter said to me once, she was like, I forget, she was like, I don't know how old she was. She was like 8 or, I don't know, 10, 9 years old or something. And she's like, well, I don't want to, what if I just want to play with it and I won't like believe it? And I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. As long as you know. And, being aware is huge, right? So I think that carried on, and we had other discussions in life about other things. And it really did help when they did encounter sexism, because they did, through tons of coaches, male and female. They let it roll off their back because they were like, okay, here's one of those coaches.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how many times my daughter, like the spin serving daughter who played very aggressively, I would say she's a tomboy for sure, the way she plays and acts. But she gets dressed up and everything still in real life. But how many times, like everywhere she went, female, male coaches, the spin serve, attack, take it easy. And she doesn't miss it very much. That's the thing. I could understand it if she never hit it or missed it a ton. But at age 12 or 13, to tell a little girl, don't go for it, like, you're just a loser. Like, you're a sexist loser. I'm sorry, because if that was a 13-year-old boy, you'd all be high-fiving him and saying, oh, wow.
That's fascinating, because now for her spin serve is like the thing that threatens everyone.
I know.
It's her own coaches and the other teams.
And she had these moments, like in clutch, like down by 5 at the end of a set. In the third set, she'll serve 6 in a row.
Oh, because at that age group, you can just run with it.
And also, like, it's like...
if it's working.
Yeah, I mean, she's 18. I mean, 17-year-old players.
Well, she's doing that at 16, I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even at the high ages where
you're right.
Players shouldn't be getting ace that long, she did it in clutch moments. And I told her, like, you know why you're doing that? Because you didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
If you are someone if we followed these coaches' advice, then she would never have the guts. Like, see, the goal is to do something to the point where, this is where repetition comes in. When we're talking about flow, and if you have repetition, right, then each rep makes the act less significant. So when she's going back there serving at 9, serving 14 in the third set, she's not nervous. Yeah. Because she's done it a million times. Whereas the player who only brings it out in special situations, is going to be terrified. They're going to mess up. So
Yeah.
the whole point of practice and practicing with intention is to make it that every rep is meaningless in some weird way, or you're loose. So she's actually super loose back there because she's done it so much. If you don't do it enough, then it becomes more meaningful. Get in your head. You start thinking, right?
Well, that and like, yeah, like I can only imagine like having the support of your parents and then coach after coach telling you not to do this, but also you have the hard proof of how effective your serve is. That combination, especially like you as the parent balancing that out because it was being attacked, but you said no, like just keep doing this. And so saying to your kid like, yeah, keep doing this, like that's confident building. So whenever, and I've seen her play, like I love, like she just had that attitude of like, I don't give a shit. Like she was just go and do it.
Yeah.
And I love it because
we don't swear on the show.
Oh, sorry. But the thing is, that's one decision away from being a different story. Like that could have been in 15U. She was told not to, and then she never ever did again, or like she just perceived it in a different way, and then it was shut down. Like that's some other girl's story, right?
100%.
Right? Yeah, many, and like
so many.
How? So that's what's messed up. That's so devastating.
Yeah.
Right. Like. Yeah, I don't know. I like, because I never had an amazing spin serve, and it was a confidence related issue, and it's for different reasons. But like, it sucks, and it still like stings me a bit to this day. But it's like now it's somewhat getting there because I'm an adult and I can like do some.
And you're doing it so often.
Yeah, and I can do some of this own work where I'm not so vulnerable, or maybe I'm dealing with my vulnerability. I don't know how to describe it, but like,
yeah. Well, I think you're older, wiser, understand that it's not significant.
And like you were saying, yeah, the more reps, the less significant, right? So, but it took a long time. And so we're talking about 15-year-olds, not 36-year-olds.
And honestly, it's just like the amount of times I've heard coaches tell girls what they can't do on the court drives me insane. Just as a guy who played and coached guys, and I'm like, you would never talk this person. If I were to pick them up and drop them in in a male equivalent age group, they would never say this crap ever.
I wonder,
like we don't. Oh, girls don't run quicks as much. Girls aren't strong enough. I've heard all of this stuff. You know what else I've heard too is when girls do stand up for themselves. Like I've seen more than one coach get, uppity with the team, like snooty. Like, okay, we're gonna punish you now because you guys are not agreeing with what I'm saying, or I'm storming out of the gym. Like I've had that. It's my team. I'll coach the way I want, and then they leave, throw a temper tantrum, right? And I'm like, put that person in, bring that coach back, put them with boys who are 17 years old, and have them act like that. Right?
Yeah. They would be torn apart at the next practice.
Yeah, because there's this subservience thing that they expect of girls, right? A lot of weak male coaches and weak female coaches, they expect that those females to listen, because that's what our society says of young females, right? I mean, history's filled with this. I was a history teacher for a long time. History's filled with females who, didn't behave as they say, and everybody punished them for that. But there's this real thing where I see it, these weak coaches. I mean, we were talking before the show about some coaches we know. Yes, we were talking about all sorts of issues with those coaches, but a big part of the jerks, there are coaches that, friends of ours have played for, that they consistently, all the females say that the coach is a jerk. Does stupid things, unreasonable things. The reason why that coach is able to stay there and keep their job for 15 years or whatever is because they're just there's a power trippy thing.
And they're in a way, doing well enough to stay in that position, right? Mm-hmm. These are bigger teams but I always wondered that.
But the coach isn't doing well enough. I think the club system and geographies is bringing them a number of people.
Yeah.
If the school has a high catchment area or a lot of numbers, then the coach is going to do well just by sheer percentage, right?
But in some of these individuals, I noticed that it was so much more of their life, and they got more involved in the athletes' lives,
female side,
they would tell me things
intrusive in their lives,
and when we were on the road in varsity games, it's just like, why? I don't understand how you know this much about them, or why are you asking them these kinds of questions, or
texting them
and stuff like that. This would never be a thing, right?
Yeah.
It never was a thing at all. And Yeah, that's kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like everyone on my team knew that our coach was what he was. He was kind of not very creative, pretty boring practices, same thing over and over again. He was like he had his one system and that's what he went with, right? But we all knew it, and we didn't care because we just had fun playing volleyball. It was great for us to play volleyball while being in school. It was our outlet. And yeah, it was just great to play the sport, right? So we just accepted the coach for what he was and moved on with it, right?
Yeah.
But then I think the coach knew that as well, because he never got to the point of forcing us into that position to call him out on it. Right. It was like this silent acceptance of what's going on here, and we're just going to play the season out and then move on, right? But yeah, a lot of these female coaches would just be so involved in their lives and like talking about, talking about their social media and stuff. Yeah. And like, did you see what
you mean male coaches coaching females? Is that what
I'm talking about?
Because you said female coaches.
And they knew about their relationships, and they knew
I know.
And these are adult women. These are varsity.
And you could argue the counterpoint to that would be maybe that female players like to talk more about their lives, right? Because there is that sort of side. Like you can be, if you have a team that's very touchy-feely and talking comes up at places, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
But as a coach, wouldn't you want to be like, hey, like, look, let me get out of here and you can continue this conversation?
100%. Yes.
Because it's kind of like being sarcastic to your athletes. Sarcasm is a weird thing to get into because it's kind of like this, I need to be close enough with you to be sarcastic with you so that way you don't get mad at what I'm saying, because sarcasm can be insulting or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insulting, and what do you call that? What do you call it again? What's the term?
I don't know, but
yeah,
it's just, you just
talking
stay away
down.
from it.
You're talking down in a sense, yeah. No, I agree. I think that there's definitely this weird ownership. I think that's a good word that a lot of coaches feel, especially male coaches coaching female. And if they disagree or speak out, then the coach gets a bit hissy. So it's a bit of a hissy fit, which I think is also rooted in sexism. I think because they wouldn't throw a hissy fit. It's funny. Again, this goes back to societal issues. Like a coach will say, "Man, I really admire that guy for speaking up for the team. He's a real leader." Whereas if a couple girls do it, they're disrespectful. They're not team players, and they're catty and they're negative, and all these words we give to females who speak their minds. Well, even the word Karen, let's face that. Yeah. In society, the word Karen, I mean, yes, I know what they mean in terms of like...
Isn't the counter Kevin? Or?
Yeah, there's another one for guys too, but it's never... The fact that we don't even know it tells you a lot, right?
Right. But to this point, and I think some of these coaches they get closer with the girls on the team is because when this does happen, they're able to then leverage the connections to the other groups, like inner niches,
100%,
and like try to.
They're part of the toxic.
And then they have this interpolitical.
Well, we talked about this
gossip.
Right?
Crap. I've witnessed this.
Yes,
firsthand.
We talked about cliques, right, on female teams, and a lot of coaches create these. I mean, cliques and bad team culture are always the coach's fault.
It's making sense now, man. Yeah, that's absolutely the reason why they did it.
They did it. Yeah, it's
to quell rebellion. Yeah.
Yes, and we said this. So like, if you're
it's kind of brilliant, but it's terrible.
But if you're a coach with, I mean, it might not even be conscious. Like
it might not. You're right.
It's probably like they're not sitting around and going, okay, I'll get these three. It's a matter of just looking for allies.
Yeah.
And then you can bully maybe individuals on the team that you need to. But what it is like if you're a coach who has bad, if you're a coach who has bad team culture, then it's on you. Like it's your fault. I don't care what's going on in your team. If you're not handling small disputes and small issues, or you're contributing to them because you're buddy with a big chunk of your team, and you see this a lot in female teams as well, and in males teams, guys teams too. But that's, again, it's these coaches who don't take care of their own stuff, right? You have some confidence, then you're not going to be... I mean, you shouldn't be... Like I said, I know players my age who played in the same university I played at and came out coaching, and they did the exact same thing. Like my kids actually did a clinic with this coach, and they came back and they're like, he coaches exactly like you. Like no BS. We're not playing games. We're not changing it up for girls.
Yeah.
Because I remember, so the look in their face, like I went to guest coach my daughter's team, that same team that had the sexist coach. And I was teaching them I remember this practice. We worked on aggressive serving, flat aggressive serving, no matter spins, jump floats, whatever you wanted. Pick spots, take a minute before you serve, take a peek, and be very aggressive. Don't look at me where to serve. You look where to serve, and you serve hard and you go for it. And then we were running quicks, and we were running a defensive system positioning thing that they, would teach them to be in the right area because that player is going to crank it. You're not going to be off the line. You're not going to be, wherever. You're in the right spots. And I remember the look on their faces. They were just like looking at me, hands on hips, like nodding.
They were
yes.
stoked.
They were fired up because
Yeah.
somebody's treating them like an aggressive volleyball play. Like no gender here. We're just playing really hard, aggressive volleyball, and they were so excited about it. And then I think what happened was when the coach asked me to do a couple practices with them, and then when he came back and he started saying to them, "Oh, whoa, what's all this garbage?" Like literally, he was like telling them, "No, stop doing that, stop doing that." And this is like 2 months into the season.
Dude, they would have been having so much fun doing that.
And I think that's the problem is that, and then people just got bitter and they were like, what the heck is this guy? And then he got worse, by the way. He got worse.
Oh, he got way worse.
Because because he saw this weird thing where, I don't know. There's a fear of aggressive females, I think, in a lot of wimpy male coaches, sorry. But they just get so sexist and they don't coach them the same and they try to manipulate them, control them. And I just wish that there was I wish there were more coaches. And I mean, there are great coaches. I mean, Hugh's one of the guys. And there's a lot of great coaches who would do exactly the same thing that we're talking about. But and I hope it's the minority, but I don't, like based on our club experience, it's the majority. Like majority of these coaches are just sexist. Males and females who want to limit the role.
You think it's a majority, eh?
Well, I mean, in our experience, it's every year.
You're right.
We've never had a coach in club that had an aggressive, open mindset or treated girls the same,
Trying to think of my sister's coaches back in club.
Yeah, back then it was, like I said, it was different because, I mean, the issue really, it does go to, again, the explosion of female volleyball because there's so many girls playing.
So many more female teams.
So many more teams And this is what I was going to talk to Hugh about. I didn't get a chance to. When we have him on again in the fall, we probably will. But, it's really difficult to raise the bar on coaching. Like, we talk about these entrance exams, the training that Hugh thinks that, you train to be a teacher. Yeah. You should train equally to be a coach. The problem with that is then you're going to nobody's going to do it. Yeah. It's another barrier to entry. And in a sport where there's a huge shortage of coaches. So how do you address that?
Well, they have a certification program here, but it's like they go and someone watches your practice and then gives you the thumbs up or the fail, right? Yeah. And then, but that's the practice element. They don't even get critiqued on how they coach at a tournament or something, right? Which is like the other major half of it.
And it's not, I mean, if there is a component, it's an online superficial thing to get some card and you have to have your name in a
told
system.
What to do or whatever. It's like,
it's like keep taking this till you pass. It's like, oh, I got it wrong. Take it again. It's superficial stuff. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I think it goes back to that episode we talked about. Remember the Ultimate Club show, like how to have the Ultimate Club. What was the answer for the best coaches? Do you remember what it was? Like, how do you get the best coaches?
Well, I was just thinking of, somewhat getting money into it and privatizing, and then because
or even if you don't privatize it, you just chart up your rates.
And
then pay the coach well.
That's
right? That's the solution.
You have to, because then there's accountability, money, and you have to, and then there's accountability. It's like you need to not just pass this once, but well, and then there's a filter, so like you get what you pay for. So the coaches that come to your club will be great, and you can legitimately, then you'll have a pick, right? You can interview them, you can trial them out, you can see what they're like, and then you can say no, because then you have the power as the club to pick the better coach. So. And then these people are coming to you because they want the money, right? Because
or it's just like to say it better, they know that
it's an appealing position.
Yeah, appealing. They'll be compensated for their time. Yeah, like that's what I think. So like a great player, a former great player, or a high level coach, if you're going to compensate their time, you're going to, you can demand better coaching if you pay it more. So, yeah, I just find that we've seen so many scenarios in youth volleyball, and I think a lot of parents listening have too, where it's clearly a double standard, right? It's the definition of double standard, and how the mindset of female players, the amount of obedience the coach expects from them is very high. And then the one area we didn't talk about, that we sort of touched on it, but there's the look too, right? Like there's a volleyball player look that I'm sure, on the male side, we're probably guilty of this too.
Maybe.
Like let's suppose a guy looks athletic and, stringy, lean muscle, maybe even better looking. That player, in life, good looking people have better breaks than, people who aren't as attractive, right? But on the girl side, there's definitely a look. Like I think every parent here knows what I'm talking about too. Like
I still know what you mean.
Well, there's girls. Well, like so, there's a stereotypical female look. Female look of a volleyball player.
And the girls who don't have that.
The girls who don't have that frame, don't have that maybe skin color. I mean, we're going to talk about race in other episodes too. But there's this look of volleyball players, and coaches gravitate to girls who look this way, and it's mostly male coaches. And that's very bothersome. And I've seen players get passed over who are great players, but they don't have that look that the sexist coach is looking for. Call that whatever you want. Maybe that's crossing into the creepy episode we'll have to do.
But but also, how could that not be happening? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, it ties in with what we talked off the top: the uniforms, the spandex. There's this weird thing. So. That's another one in volleyball that really bugs me, is that they don't just take the best 12.
Yeah.
They take the most, whatever they have in their image of what a volleyball player should look like. And again, I'm sure, like I said, I think that happens on the guy side too. And,
probably less so though.
Less so, yeah. Because the guys aren't considered to be as on display.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I think one thing coaches need to start to do is, and parents also, like, you need to observe this stuff, because like I said, I've had conversations on sidelines with parents where they're asking themselves, like, especially these coaches that yell at female athletes, and I know that coach doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm like, take that coach over to the male side and see if they're screaming like this, right? Yeah, that doesn't happen as often. But also, like, why are you there? Why did you pick that gender to coach? Why did you decide to coach?
Yeah.
Are you a person passionate about volleyball, or are you passionate about power? Are you, you know what I mean? Are you there to pick the teams that are the easiest to bully, manipulate, control?
I've never thought about this so much, but in these past 40 weeks, but it's like really, I'm starting to see the picture, and yeah.
Well, like I said, like the reason why this show was started is because as a player that went into coaching, and then I wouldn't have even had these thoughts, because as a coach, you live in your own little silo, and you think that, so if somebody was talking about coaches this way, I'd be very defensive, just like a lot of coaches are when they hear what we're talking about. But when you get to the view that I've had as a parent now,
you guys went through a lot in like a 4 or 5 year span.
Yeah, every year was a nightmare. And I'm sorry, me and my wife were happy when our club years were done.
Yeah.
Think about this.
I know. Yeah.
We were happy. I'm a volleyball person through and through. Love it. My career's in it.
Yep.
I played it, coached it. It's my obsession in life, right? And I was grateful when my kids were done rep volleyball, and even school volleyball, because it was just like so much garbage. It's not like me being impatient, like a person who's like comparison culture. I'm not unhappy about my kids' playing time or about my kids' success level. I just wanted like a basic, competent coach who understood etiquette, manners, and even if they didn't know volleyball, then just get the hell out of the way. But I kept finding people that don't know volleyball who were sexist, got in the way, irrational decisions, lack of logic. Again, it goes back to the number of coaches and training, but it also goes to the fact that society's getting dumber as we go along here. Like it's superficial thinking, shallow thinking, and I know every generation thinks this, but I think I think the smartphone era, like there's a real shift in lack of intelligence among people and patience. Yeah. And in the smartphone era, I think it's really contributing to because if you're more insecure than ever before, then we're going to have a whole bunch of crappy everything. Yeah. And coaching, unfortunately, is just one more thing. We're going to see a lot more crap. I think that's why parents and good coaches and players are frustrated with it. That's why Hugh wrote his book, right?
Yeah.
He wrote his book out of the same exasperation I'm talking about here. He didn't write it until his kids went into youth sports. He's like, whoa, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
This doesn't match up with anything. Like they're thinking, they're coaching like they're at the Olympics, right? And even Hugh, like in his book, like if anybody, again, we talked about this was a previous episode. It was so funny that he said in his book, he didn't even think, I don't know if you saw this part, but I remember the part where he's talking about the gold medal game when the U.S. men's were up in the fourth set. They were up 24-22 or something like that against Brazil. And that's the first time he thought about, oh, we might win the gold. First time. Like, of course, they set it as a goal 4 years before. And everybody thought they were crazy because they had no business winning the gold, that team. But that was the first time in the whole Olympics, 24-22 in the fourth set when they were about to win it, when he thought, ooh, we might win. That's what you want. Whereas you have these other coaches who are like thinking about it, they think they're in the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know? And that I think that's
yeah,
it's good for a win, but it also, like, I think it's to connect it with sexism. I mean, I think that's part of why they're, like, you know, insecure coaches go in because they think they want to be powerful. They want to be like the coaches they see on TV, and then they run into a group of females who aren't really ready for that or don't agree with your power trip need, or they want something else.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, shut up, it's my team.
Yeah, like I had a big shift in just this mentality recently. Like last tournament, like we lost or whatever, but then I started to think, like, I shouldn't think, because of all these conversations we've been having, I got to stop thinking win or lose. Like, because a win, I can even consider a win, like this time we lost like 15-21. But if we could lose 19-21 or 18-21, or I wouldn't even think of the score. I would be like, if we can just play, serve, and pass, because that's such a foundational thing for us, I'm like, that's going to be a win, right? Yeah. And I think because I started thinking that, like, even going to this weekend, it's translating, right? Like, we were even talking about other teams that, like, we probably we should have no business beating, but we're less intimidated because I'm like, look, even if we can get to 18 with these guys, like, they're going to be worried because even so, I would even take it, like, I know you keep mentioning the score, but I know what I would do is break it down into the skills, like you said, passing and serving, but what is good? Remember we talked about this, like, what does good passing mean? So like, you know, like breaking it down into the micro thing, like, okay, my follow through on my pass is going to be amazing. I'm going to follow through to target all day. That's a good point. Yeah. And I'm going to follow, like, so many times we pick these goals and we don't break it down. And this is what bad coaches will say things like, come on guys, pass better. Yeah. And great coaches will say, like, hey guys, do you notice that we're standing a little deep? Or do you notice that we're not following? Pass better.
You notice that we're not, but really? They say, or serve better, right? But they don't say, we're not following through on our pass, or we're not holding it for that split second after we pass. And like, if we did that, then we would notice, oh my God, my hands are actually ending up the wrong way. Like, you know what I mean? It's that simple. So, and like, so the coaches that are in this for the right reasons are, they're doing it for the player. And so things like sexism don't crop up, but players that are doing it for the wrong reasons, they're just interested in authority, right? I know we're shifting from what you were talking about.
Coaches in those positions do it for authority. You said players.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Coaches who do it for the right reasons. Yeah. They tend to focus on the player, not the power, right, that they glean from this. So, so I mean, it's a mindset, and also the same coaches that are in it for the right reasons, they will give you that technical feedback, break it down more. You'll find it's the same coach that just says things like serve better. They're not in the game. They don't know the game, unless they're giving you the right tools. They're
more concerned about the win. And now, if I'm thinking back on, that follows true in my experience.
Yeah, they're concerned about end results without giving you the path to that end result. Like, you got to focus on little paths, and I find that the same coaches that are the most sexist, and that tells you everything. They're there for power. Like, that's the way they act. That's the way they act. So again, if you are a coach in youth sports, I hope that you're asking yourself the hard questions about, why am I coaching here? Why did I pick the gender I picked? Like, especially if you had no experience with it, right? Like, I never played, like, I never played women's volleyball.
None of those coaches are listening.
But you know what? The parents are, and they might start to understand that it's not them. Because I know so many parents and players who are like, is it me? Is it like, why is it every year I'm having this thing. And even us, I knew it wasn't me just because I had the knowledge of the game.
I remember it because you even asked me, and I'm like, younger than you, and you're like, hey, is this crazy? Like, if I think that we should leave, and then because I had my comparison of my club years, which were positive for the most part, and I'm seeing you go through this, and you were questioning yourself. You're like, am I the crazy one? Like, is this this is the third year, and like we're gonna stick it out, and like, and then, but it just kept getting worse. And then self-respect, for reasons of self-respect for your daughter, and she made the decision.
Yeah, they always decided. Yeah,
right.
That's part of another thing, right? Female empowerment. Like, I don't say we're leaving. I say, what do you guys want to do? Are you finding this productive?
And what does she do? She does that and goes into badminton and like crushes it in a badminton tournament. Like, that's so awesome.
Yeah,
right?
she was able to find something else for now. But she still wants to be in volleyball. But it was just it's just like. There are bad situations that can serve people well, and we hung around in bad situations for years.
It can always serve a purpose.
Yeah,
right?
It can always serve a purpose, but then it reaches a point where it's crossed over into now it's just a matter of, do I teach my kid about self-respect?
Well, or instead of saying it always does. And whether that's for because of all these girls where the negative thing is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, for every 1,000 of them, there's one girl where it's working out the right way.
Yeah,
or I don't know. Hopefully, it's
I think what it is so it can always be productive, but it reaches a point where the lessons now have been learned, and now it's crossing into, do you walk away from a toxic situation? So especially when you're dealing with females, there's a fine line between, let's hang around in this really difficult situation.
Yeah, now you're
but then there's that other half where now, like, I got to teach my daughter, no, here's a male, especially, right, or anybody disrespecting me. We need to get away, because fine line between accepting and tolerating.
Yeah, and this is also not good, because conditioning is a real thing, and so it sucks, because now for like your daughter and all these other girls who've had bad male coaches, now this is going to affect their future encounters with male figures of authority and stuff, right?
If they don't have someone there to frame it.
If they don't, or if they're not able to catch it themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Which hopefully they can, but like a lot of a human, the emotion kicks in before the thought does, right? And then the emotion leads the thought, and so that's and
it works the other way too. Like, sometimes their tolerance for it is based on what they're used to as well. Like, we found some teammates, we were very shocked that they were willing to stick around in it. But when you look at their family history or their what they grew up in, you're like, of course they would stick around.
Easy for them.
Because they've been used to this sort of or this sort of sexism at home and abuse, like sort of different levels of it. So it's a very fascinating topic. But the bottom line, I think, is that coaches really have to start paying attention to why they're there, what's their purpose, and just basically coach volleyball. Don't even think of it as girls volleyball, boys volleyball.
Well,
the net height's already done that for you. The net height has already sorted that out for you. So just coach volleyball. And don't change it up because you don't think girls can do what guys can do. They can do anything guys can do. Because, again, if you believe that there's a huge difference between males and females in sport, and there is, the net height solves that in volleyball, right? Like in tennis, they don't change anything.
It's one of the beautiful things about volleyball, like the fact that we have that difference.
Yeah, and the net height is there for a reason. And we're not going to get into new topics, but net height, boys and girls, that's a different show. But
just do volleyball.
Just coach volleyball the same you would.
What is it? I do volleyball. I'm not.
Volleyball is something I do. It's not what defines me or as a person or something. It's not who I am. So coaches, just the net's taken care of, the net height's taken care of. So just coach girls the way you coach guys. And anytime you're finding yourself getting sucked into something that you're coaching, or you're thinking, I'm going to change this up because girls don't like this, or girls don't do that, or boys only boys do this, fix that crap, right? Notice it whenever you can. It's a good practice. There's only one way to coach. Coach the sport.
Well,
I think that sums it up.
Yeah, very well said.
So if you're sexist, stop it. Easy peasy.
Every time.
That's every show. Does it really matter? No, anyway, maybe it does. Hopefully this helps some parent. And
thanks for listening. And
coach.
hopefully
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
At least
And
we're talking about it, right?
yeah, that's what we're doing. We're having the topics that not many other people are having, I think, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse, I'm sure, in the next few months. We're just going to get canceled.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we will see you next week on Volleyball episode number 45, right?
Ooh.
Nice even number. Michael Jordan, part 2.
What's the big idea?